Yeah, just I guess my guys are over out. You send someone to the holding room or something? Unless I could just wing it. I already know it all. Oh, sorry. I got it all.
Okay, Howard Glazer, Director of State Operations for the Governor. We're here today with the two county executives from Suffolk County and Nassau County, County Executive Mangano, County Executive Ballone, along with state officials, Superintendent of State Police Joseph D'Amico, and General Patrick Murphy of the National Guard. This is the Governor's second visit to Long Island in the last 24 hours. When we were here yesterday, we talked about the probable storm track, bringing surge conditions and high wind conditions to the metropolitan region, specifically vulnerable in Long Island. And today we're seeing exactly what was predicted yesterday, within more or less within the range. And what you see today outside, our latest weather predictions indicate what you see now is what we're going to be seeing for the next several hours, most likely intensifying, both in terms of wind and water. So that's the basic situation. The governor has a few announcements to make today, and the governor is going to, I'm actually going to turn it over to County Executive Mangano.
Once again, I want to thank the governor. His second time he's visited us here during this impending record-breaking tidal surge storm. The assets that he has brought to Nassau County has assisted us in positioning assets so we can be positioned for the best place to help our residents should this storm reach the record levels that are anticipated. We are already seeing flooding above normal records. We have roads that have been closed. We urge our residents to please, if you're in the flood zone, evacuate safely now. I've been informed by the Weather Service that that impending storm and those winds are going to be moved up to about 6 p.m. That's when we can expect a more severe storm coming. With 7 p.m., the high tide between 7 and 11, we are very concerned in Nassau County. This is the time to get out of harm's way and let our first responders do the job that they're trained to do. So I thank you again, Governor, for being with us and helping us get as prepared as possible for what could be a record-breaking tidal surge here in the county. Thank you.
I want to join County Executive Ed Mangano in thanking the governor for really what has been an incredible amount of support from New York State on this storm. As the county executive had mentioned, this storm has intensified and it's arriving earlier than we had expected. We have utilized support from New York State in their incident management teams that have been provided, urban search and rescue teams that have been provided. They have been crucial in the planning and preparations and responding to events that have been happening here today. We've also had state vehicles, Humvees and other vehicles responding from the National Guard, from the state in the town of Babylon, responding to several working fires during this first surge at the high tide earlier today. The flooding went all the way up to Montauk Highway, very significant flooding, so we can expect to see that really intensify as the storm makes landfall, and the high tide and the storm and the winds meet all at the same time, really producing what we have been talking about for the last few days, and that is this incredibly dangerous storm. Earlier today, after the intensification of the storm, we were successful on a multiple agency level, including working with New York State assets, rescuing or evacuating additional people off of Fire Island. We understand now that those who have chosen to ride out the storm and made that decision on Fire Island, this is a life-threatening storm. We contacted people again and made additional efforts to evacuate people. We were successful in evacuating an additional 14 people off of Fire Island today. During that evacuation, we lost one police vehicle, a Suburban Marine Bureau 3. But thanks to the assets that have been provided by the governor, we were able to effectuate the evacuation of additional people off of Fire Island, and those assets continue to be utilized as we approach the really biggest part of the storm now. So again, I want to thank the governor for all his support and all of his efforts in this very difficult storm.
Thank you. Thank you. First, let me begin by thanking County Executive Ed Mangano. His leadership has been exemplary today. You have very difficult situations all across Nassau County, but especially in areas like Long Beach and in Bayville, communities that are experiencing flooding and severe coastal attacks, and he has done really, really great work, and I applaud him for it, and I applaud him for his partnership and his cooperation. Likewise, County Executive Steve Ballone has had a very busy day already, and the worst is yet to come. He's had a situation on Fire Island that was and is life-threatening for people, and he's handled it magnificently well. I'd also like to extend those congratulations to all the first responders who've been working all through the day, but also have been preparing for days. You know, we knew this was coming, so you have many, many people who went into today having worked 24 hours. And it's ugly out there, as you know, and they've been doing great work. Special thanks to the National Guard, more of whom are going to be deploying as we speak. We have another 1,000 National Guard who have been called up. And they, in so many ways, provide the energy, the muscle, if you will, to do many of these operations, and they put themselves in harm's way, and we thank them very much. The storm basically is as expected thus far. We said it was going to be a lot of wind, a lot of rain. That's what they forecast, and that's exactly what we've gotten, and more. The Sandy's fury is still going to come this evening. Originally, it was supposed to be about 8 o'clock. That has now been moved up. It could be as early as 6 o'clock, where we're going to start to feel the full impact of the high tide. That gives people a very short window. People who have not yet evacuated, they should have already, in my opinion, but there's a very short window until we really feel the full impact of Sandy's fury. And this is probably the last warning that we're going to be able to give people about getting themselves to a safe place before that coastal surge really hits. Of the National Guard, the 1,000 that are going to be deployed today, the majority of those National Guard will be deployed on Long Island. As the issue becomes more and more the coastal surge, Long Island becomes more and more vulnerable and the primary area of our operation. Nassau County has put in an urgent request to get more assistance from the National Guard to help evacuate people from the Long Beach area and the Bayville area, and we're going to have 30 additional Humvee teams and 30 additional high-axle teams go out as soon as possible this evening to start that mission in concert with Nassau County. The winds have been increasing. You can feel it if you've been outside, or if you're in your home, I'm sure you can hear it. It's made a dangerous situation on the bridges in the metropolitan area. We're going to be closing a number of bridges. There may be some brief intervals in electric service also, I want you to know. That may very well happen. Don't be alarmed and surprised if it does. The Tappan Zee Bridge is going to close, or has closed 5 minutes ago at 4 o'clock. Throgs Neck Bridge will be closing at 7 o'clock this evening. The Bronx Whitestone Bridge, Verrazano Bridge, Henry Hudson Bridge, and the George Washington Bridge will all be closing at 7 o'clock this evening. The Marine Parkway Bridge, Cross Bay Veterans Memorial Bridge will also be closing at 7 o'clock this evening. The Lincoln Tunnel, Midtown Tunnel, and the Triborough RFK Bridge will remain open. The Bayonne, Goethals, and Outer Bridge crossing will also remain open from Staten Island. When I say those bridges remain open, they will be open for now. If the wind continues to increase, if the weather conditions get worse, they could close on very, very short notice. Power outages are currently we have approximately 180,000 people without power already in this state, and 140,000 of those 180,000 are right here on Long Island. We have 4,000 workers from utility crews who have been brought to the state already and are on standby. I spoke to President Barack Obama again this afternoon. I spoke to him, as a matter of fact, on the way out this afternoon. Once again, he wanted to know how we were doing. He wanted to know if there was anything we needed. He said anything we need, 24 hours a day, we should call him, and he sends us our best wishes, and probably more importantly right now, his total desire to be of assistance for whatever we need. The New Yorkers all across the state have been great in response to this. You have all sorts of heartwarming stories of neighbors who are out there helping neighbors. And sometimes when times get really tough, that's when you really see New Yorkers step up to the plate and show what they're made of. The worst of this storm has not yet hit us this evening, tonight. There'll be another high tide tomorrow morning. But once we get past that, we'll start to work on the aftermath. Let's just stay sharp through this evening, through tonight. Government is doing what it's supposed to be doing. First responders are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I once again urge citizens all across the state to remember their duty and to exercise common sense, stay indoors, stay off the roads, let the first responders and emergency personnel do their job. Let's get through this evening, and then we'll take an assessment of where we are tomorrow morning, and we'll go from there. Thank you. Questions? Thank God. None that we have heard reported thus far, and we truly, truly hope it stays that way. 2,000. 1,000 were called up yesterday, roughly 2,000. Yeah, County Executive, maybe you want to talk about Fire Island and what happened there?
On Fire Island, once the storm intensified, we met up with state assets as well as local assets and made the calls through to residents there who had made the determination to avoid the mandatory evacuation order and to try to ride out the storm. We explained the circumstances, and a number of people said that they were interested in being evacuated. Not everyone who was interested in being evacuated could be reached. We made a determination at that time that we could only safely have first responders reach communities west of Ocean Beach, and 14 people additionally were evacuated today. There was one vehicle, a police vehicle, that had to be abandoned.
Yes. We were down in Bayville earlier today, and I've been down there for all the last storms. This is the worst that we have seen it at a low tide to high tide event. West Shore Road was impassable. We just got down it, others got stuck behind us, and we're very concerned about that road and about that road being undermined. We are concerned about Bayville being cut off, and this is the storm to watch and be prepared for. And if you're in the Bayville area, you should have evacuated already. And just the emergency personnel that needs to be in place should be there. We cannot stress it enough. Now is the time to find a way out, and that's it. We are moving towards the hour where it will be impossible to evacuate. As the governor said, the weather has moved up. 6 p.m. tonight should start the most severe weather, followed by high tide at 7 p.m. I'm very, very concerned and alarmed by those that are not following the mandatory evacuation instructions. They're putting themselves in harm's way, and they are certainly putting first responders in harm's way. I think what you just witnessed in Suffolk County, with people refusing to leave Fire Island and then having to go back and just rescue them at this point. Fortunately, only equipment was lost, but that easily could have been a first responder injured or harmed, and that would have been needless because we have the warnings. They need to be followed. Now's the time.
I want to add that some of the troops that the governor has called National Guard troops have been deployed in Babylon to assist in the efforts there, working with the town supervisor, Rich Schaefer, and the local fire departments to deal with the flooding, helping rescue some people who were trapped due to the flooding, as well as deal with the working fires that have been going on there.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. The state has been working with us not just today. They've been working with us since the beginning of the 120-hour time frame. And they have personnel stationed at our Office of Emergency Management. They've helped in the planning. They've helped in the deployment. And they are our partners in, obviously, the rescue that will occur should this storm continue as predicted.
I want to thank General Murphy, who's in charge of all the National Guard's troops, who's done an outstanding job here, as he has in the past, and Superintendent of the State Police, Joseph D'Amico, who's here with us, and he's been here with us for days. To the National Guard troops that are going out today and will be with us for the next few days, I can't tell you how much we appreciate what you're doing, how proud we are of what you're doing, and how much you mean to these communities who really need help. This is a traumatic experience for New Yorkers in many ways. You being there and your assistance and your dedication really makes a difference. And let's all give them a round of applause. And you be safe out there. Thank you very much. Thank you.